Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. Little darling, the smiles returning to the faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Little darling, it seems the ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. It's alright.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. I'm Carol Gable, President of the Board for UU Utica. Today is a special day as we are speaking about love and covenant, and we'll have a congregational meeting after church to vote on adoption of a church covenant that we have been discussing for the past several months. Whether you are visiting for the first time or have been a member for several years, you are welcome here. Whatever faith you have known, if any, you are welcome here. Whoever you are and whoever you love, you are welcome here. We are invited to bring our whole selves to this worship service, our doubts as well as our convictions, the pain and joy we have known, our longing for connection and understanding. Every part of you is welcome here. Our congregation acknowledges that the land on which UU Utica is situated is the ancestral lands of the Oneida Nation, one of the original nations of the Haudenosaunee or Iroquois people. If you're visiting us today for the first time, either in person or on Zoom, we are glad you have joined us. We would like to learn more about you and connect you with our newsletter if you like. There will be a link in the chat to a form that we hope any online visitors could fill out. We have two announcements today. As I said earlier, there will be a meeting immediately after church or service for a congregational vote on adopting the proposed covenant. All are welcome, and members who have made a financial contribution since July 1st, the start of our church year, are eligible to vote. A second announcement is a request for congregational input on priorities for the upcoming year. A search committee has been having conversations with excellent minister candidates. A stewardship committee is preparing to launch a campaign to fund next year's budget, which begins July 1. Finance will soon be preparing a proposed budget for a congregational vote in June. Our music and our coordinator positions are currently vacant, and the pandemic seems to be transitioning endemic. So there is a lot in flux, making planning activities a little more challenging than normal. For this reason, members of the board, finance, and stewardship committees will host breakout rooms after church on February 20th and 27th, seeking your input as we plan our congregation's future. Please join us if you can. Let us now open our hearts and minds to the experience of community and the wisdom of love.
Our call to worship this morning is The Heart of Our Faith by Monica Jacobson Tennyson. What is it that calls you here, that calls you onward, that calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make that change, to ask that question, to take that journey? What is it that says you have done well, that asks you to learn more, that brings you to stillness, that holds you up in hard times? It is relationship. The beating heart of our faith, it begins when we share this hour, our truths, this air, our hearts. Come, let us worship together.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, spirits draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mystery of the body, scattered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mystery of the body, scattered here in the struggles and the body, scattered here in the struggle and the power, scattered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mysteries of the body, scattered here in the struggles and the body, scattered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near.
Now we'll have the chalice lighting. A Flame to Light Our Path, words by Deborah Burrell. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace.
Once upon a time, there was a drop of water named Higgins. Higgins was no ordinary drop of water. He was a drop with a dream. Higgins lived in a valley where it had not rained in a very long time. So all the lovely green grass was turning brown, and all the beautiful flowers were wilting, and all the trees were starting to droop. Higgins had a dream that one day the valley would be a beautiful place again. But what could he do? After all, he was only a drop of water. One day Higgins decided to travel and tell others about his dream. All the other drops listened very politely, but no one believed that his dream would come true. "Higgins," said one, "get your head out of the clouds. You can't spend your whole life dreaming." Higgins decided that he had to do something to make his dream come true. So he began to think and think and think. And one day, as he was walking by a rusty old bucket, he got an idea. If enough of us drops of water get together in this bucket, Higgins thought, there would be enough water to sprinkle on a few flowers to help them grow and become beautiful again. Eagerly, Higgins told everyone his great idea, but everyone thought he was being foolish. Higgins is nothing but a dreamer, they said. Higgins decided that he had to do something to convince the others that he was right. So he said to them, I don't know about you, but I'm getting into the bucket, and I hope some of you will join me. Then there might be enough water to help at least some flowers grow beautiful again. So Higgins ran as hard as he could and hopped way up in the air and landed with a kerplunk in the bottom of the bucket. And there he sat, just a drop and a bucket. For a long time, Higgins was very lonely. It seemed like no one else was going to join him. But after a while, some of the other drops could see that the grass was dying, and the flowers were wilting, and the trees were drooping. They all agreed that something must be done. Suddenly, one drop shouted, I'm going in the bucket with Higgins. And he leaped through the air and landed kerplunk in the bucket. Then two other drops yelled, Wait for us! And they hopped through the air and landed in the bucket. Then 10 drops jumped through the air into the bucket, then 30, then 50, then hundreds of drops came from all around just to hop into the bucket. Soon, the bucket was completely full of water, but there was still more drops that wanted to join. So they found another bucket and hopped in. And before long, there were 2 buckets of water, then 3, then 4, then 10, then hundreds, and then thousands of buckets of water. Along came a powerful breeze that blew over all the buckets, and all the water flowed together to make a mighty stream. Flowers bloomed, and the trees stood tall and straight once more. All of this happened because Higgins had a dream, and his dream came true. Because he knew that although he was just a drop in a bucket, enough drops in the bucket make a bucket full. And when there are enough buckets with the wind behind them, then justice will roll down like waters and righteousness of a mighty stream.
Jerry is spotlighted. Good. Jerry will share the reading.
Oh, I thought it was community candles, sorry. The central task of the religious community, words by Mark Morrison Reed. The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind us each to all. There's a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Once felt, it inspires us to act for justice. It is the church that assures us that we are not struggling for justice on our own, but as members of a larger community. The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all that must be done. Together, our vision widens and our strength is renewed.
Okay, thank you. Today's sermon is from our prior minister, Reverend Lori Staubitz, and it's about love and commitment, things many of us choose to celebrate on Valentine's Day. The title, High Fidelity, comes from a favorite movie of Lori's and mine, which starred John Cusack. I think it was back in the early 90s. He played Rob, a record store owner and a compulsive list maker. During the movie, he talks to the audience and recounts his top 5 breakups, including the one in progress. It's a comedy about fear of commitment, hating your job, falling in and out of love. Rob is faced with the fact that he is the king of breaking up, and if he doesn't rectify this dilemma soon, he will end up alone. After his most recent breakup, Rob begins to reassess his romantic life. He starts to recategorize his album collection, not alphabetically, not chronologically, but autobiographically. This way he can tell who he bought the record for, where he was at that stage in his life, and which specific heartbreak each song references. It would be sad if it weren't so funny. Rob even has his breakups listed in top 5 fashion, with the most painful one at the top. Unfortunately, this is the case for many of us. Whether it's the loss of love, friendship, job, loss of community, our hearts are broken again and again and again. Along with language, romance may be one of the hardest skills we'll ever acquire. But we are born lovers. Scientists say even before we know how to turn on the charm, touch and chemistry are bonding us firmly to our caregivers and us to them. Within the first months of life, babies learn how to flirt, a survival mechanism to encourage caretakers to love and protect them. Getting that protection teaches the quid pro quo that love requires both give and take. We don't know our character, Rob, but we do know from the onset that he is forever moving from one relationship to the next without moving to the deeper level of commitment with any relationship. This is typical of young adulthood, but our guy, Rob, no longer qualifies as an adolescent. In an effort to cleanse himself of his romantic loser status, he goes about contacting his earlier lovers to see exactly what it was that doomed these relationships. His experiences are not unlike our own when we are first attracted to something or someone. We too have had many relationships, no matter how brief, where we fall head over heels in love. This is the attraction or the liking stage, a feeling of closeness, understanding, support, and affection, but no real commitment or passion. It's the mark of many friendships, neighborly relations, involvement in other organizations. Sometimes we jump into the deep of infatuation, lots of instant passion that can end as quickly as it begins, with no real intimacy or commitment. Or deeper yet, we delve into a relationship of romance. This is marked by both passion and intimacy, but commitment is still uncertain. Romantics are driven by a sense of hope and vision. However, they sometimes run into trouble when they become too quickly disillusioned by a relationship that is starting to fall short of their imagination. Then there is a mature love grounded in much more than immediate self-satisfaction. Examples include consummate love, relationships with high commitment, intimacy, and passion. Compassionate love. Intimacy and commitment are high. This can be witnessed in a long-term dedication to a cause or a relationship. However, commitment alone can lead to lifeless, empty love because it's based more on a sense of duty or commitment. Mature love requires passion, intimacy, and commitment if it is to endure suffering and loss of innocence, loss of illusion. A mature love humbles us out of our own illusions of perfection. It's a love that demands that we open our eyes to our own imperfections. It is a love that knows vulnerability and risk, as well as compassion, understanding, and forgiveness. But back to the movie. The breaking point in this movie, in this story, doesn't come until the very end. You begin to believe that this guy is doomed to never move beyond the introductory stages of relationship to anyone or anything. He hates his job. He hates his life. He's unsatisfied with everyone who has disappointed him in love. Until he has an epiphany. After interviewing his top 5 breakup partners, he starts to see a pattern. Some of his last lines in the movie go like this. You see, I didn't understand that I would have to repeat the same pattern over and over again. I found out that no matter who I am with, I will have to move beyond that point where I am disappointed to really, really know what love is. Unitarian minister James Luther Adams wrote these words on such a love as this. Universal love, or love of God, then is the giving of oneself to the power that holds the world together. And that when we are tearing it apart, it again persuades us to come to ourselves and start on new beginnings. Through this love, which is a self-giving to a process of transformation, all persons in their relation to each other and in their diversity become mutually supporting and enhancing rather than mutually impoverishing. Here, the antagonism between egoism and altruism is transcended in the devotion to the good of others, which is at the same time the fulfillment of the good of the self. In this relationship, one loses the finite sense of self to find and live out a greater sense of relationship and identity. This kind of love, however, promises no rosy path. It demands much from us. It demands an integrity of spirit, ability to withstand loss of innocence, grief, and yes, even suffering for a higher good. It requires humility to learn and grow and forgive and begin anew with genuine concern for others. We are people who have loved and lost. We are lovers who have given our best, and at times it has not been good enough. We have counted on others. We have trusted only to be disillusioned and disappointed. But that is not all. We are learning that love has a cost. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to a high fidelity. We are no easy date. For like Rob, many come to discover that the commitment to learning, self-awareness, and change, along with a commitment to love and justice, are necessary tenets for this progressive faith tradition. Prohibitions on love stain the course of our human history. We know that it was not long ago that interfaith and interracial marriages were banned. We stood on the side of love when it was obvious that love knows no limits and will defy the boundaries of race, religion, class, and culture. What kind of love will be required of us for these times? There is a love that can transcend all our personal bias and limitations and call us forward into deeper relationship with all others. It's universal love. Love, commitment, and passion that extend beyond the constructs of self, family, nation, class, race, gender, or even species, the highest form of love. It has its foundations in the individual heart, mind, body, and spirit, but can be best manifest in and through a loving community. Thank you, Lord. Please join me in singing the next hymn, if you can, 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness. Now Jack will share a meditation on covenant with us.
Words are by Lisa Ward. A covenant leaves room for chance and change. It claims, I will abide with you in this common endeavor, be present as best I can in the becoming. A creed creates a static truth, something that does not incorporate new insights and realities. A covenant is a dance of co-creation, keeping in step with one another in the flow of our life. A creed creates an us and a them. A covenant invites relationship.
Thank you, Jack. It's now time for our offering. We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and hope.
Extinguishing the chalice. Now we will extinguish our chalice. Please join in with the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.
Paul will now share the benediction.
Good morning, everyone. Our benediction is from Corinthians 13. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Our 8 principles help guide our actions. But perhaps we need something more, a promise, a vow that will help guide the ways we put our love into action, a covenant such as this.
The UU Utica Proposed Covenant. We build our church on a foundation of love and covenant with one another to create a welcoming and trusting, safe community for all. To be open, honest, and compassionate to all, and look for the good intentions of others. Avoid gossip and speak directly to one another to resolve any differences. To speak kindly, respectfully, and compassionately while listening carefully to all viewpoints. Explore and accept personal responsibility in conflict, being able to forgive and accept forgiveness. Participating with our community where there is common ground, serving with compassion and commitment. Approaching visitors with respect, open hearts and minds, embracing everyone. We commit to this covenant as a means of supporting and living the 8 principles.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you.
Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. 1, 2, 1. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3. I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2. You'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do. Oh yeah. Ooh, yeah, yeah. If the tossing and the turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing a song beside you. If you ever forget how much you really mean to me, every day I will remind you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1,
one.